Hey, welcome to another episode of the Jon Gil Show. And on this episode, I'm excited to bring on the living legend, Rosario Terracciano, co-founder and CEO of Clickinvest. They are a real estate investment brokerage based in Chicago and in Florida now. He's also my mentor, my great friend, and just someone who, if it wasn't for him, I'd be nowhere even close to where I am today. But Rosario, thank you so much for finally coming onto the show, dude. It's awesome to have you on.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Very, very kind words, man. But, I've learned a ton from you, at the same time. We learned a lot together. I mean,
That's right.
Going back, 15 years, whatever that was, a long time ago. So
that was a long time ago. Yeah, well, before, so Rosario, originally, you were doing a lot, used to do a lot of REOs, bank-owned foreclosures, representing banks, one of the largest REO brokers in the state of Illinois. You also were one of the top brokers in the country, as the Wall Street Journal indicated, when you were working on Blackstone's single family home, REO acquisitions. So talk to us a little bit about that. And then now your transition from that to Clickinvest.
Yeah. So
before that, explain, you're behind some palm trees. You got palm trees behind you. Where are you?
If you see me keep going like this, it is 90 degrees here. All right. I'm sweating all over myself. You told me look nice. Well, you actually said, I don't have to get too nice, but man, I'm usually like V-neck. I'm like, what's around my neck?
Dude, you're the most handsome guy on the screen right now. Look at you.
No way. No way. You're the best looking guy in real estate. We got to stop, John. People are going to shut this off. So I'm in Tampa. So my family and I relocated down here in 2019. So as Jonathan mentioned, did a ton of REOs. I actually got into business in 2003. Was a wholesaler for a few years and then started buying rentals and then was doing a lot of flips. And then the market turned in 2008 and I got wiped out completely and had to start over. And that's when we launched Resurrecting Real Estate. And Jonathan was the original managing broker of Resurrecting Real Estate. So it wouldn't have started if Jonathan wasn't there.
Yeah, get out of here.
Well, maybe it would have started, but it would have started 6 months later. It would have started 6 months later.
Exactly.
We go way back. You were instrumental when we first got started. I remember you pounding the phones, calling investors, taking all the investor calls. Crazy time on Oakley Street in Pilsen.
Yeah. That was the time when, that was the real estate crash. I mean, that's when things really hit the fan. So, and then I saw, it was unbelievable, your growth. I mean, it was like you had 2 listings one week, the following week you had 10. By the end of the month, it was up to like 100. So continue to talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. I am a man of faith, and there were some really dark times. I mean, when you lose everything, and at that point we had just had our eldest son. So we went from a condo on Lakeshore Drive, downtown Chicago, to an apartment in Harwood Heights. You guys are familiar with Chicago. And we just had our first son. And, here I am with my wife, who I promised everything to. And now I'm living in this tiny apartment. I'm like, what am I going to do with myself? So got into property preservation, started doing a lot of work for the banks, as Jonathan mentioned. And the banks... I'm a big believer in your network, right? So there was this character, Jonathan remembers, Joe Narduli.
I knew it. Yeah.
Joe Narduli, who I think has the same birthday as you.
I don't know.
Wait, when's your birthday?
August 23rd.
Yes, you guys have the same birthday.
It's nuts, yeah.
So enter Joe Narduli.
He had totally different characters, for sure.
Yes. And he had a lot of REO contacts, and he used to be part of a lending company that used to lend to me when I was buying. So he's like, hey, I got all these bank contacts. Why don't you just become an REO broker? So he was a big part of that push into REOs, and then started connecting with a lot of asset managers. They liked the fact that I was a former investor, so I understood what it took to put deals together. And then it just exploded. I mean, like you said, we went from 0 to 150 closings in our first year. Second year was 250, 350. And then we topped off at like 630, 640 in 2014 or 13, one of those years.
Nuts. Yeah. And then afterwards, you transitioned from that to working with the for the hedge funds, institutional clients, with the REOs. So all of that, has led you now to basically pave the way to your new company, Clickinvest. Can you talk to us about how all of that experience has culminated to now this amazing platform that you've created for investors?
Absolutely. So we started working with Invitation Homes in 2012, and that really catapulted our volume. And we staffed up, and we had a lot of people between internal operations, field agents, virtual assistants. We were close to 50 or 60 people when you add everybody up.
Wow.
But it was a very expensive operation. So even though we were closing so much, our margins really stunk. And if you guys are business owners or you're in the business, whatever, whoever's listening, top line doesn't mean anything. Top line at the end of the day, that's great. You'll get some awards, or, you could puff your chest, but bottom line is what matters. And our net profits were horrible. I'd do $3 million in commission income, right? So $100 million in sales volume, and the margins would be 6%, 8%. It was brutal. So we went through that whole deal. We were their top broker in the Midwest, doing a ton of volume. And then we get the phone call, hey, we filled our order. This was 2014. We filled our order. We're going to stop buying for now. We'll call you if we need you. I'm like, huh? My payroll per month was about 150,000 with everybody. Okay. Fully loaded. So we went from closing 50, 60, 70, 80 deals a month to 10,
Wow.
seemingly overnight. So we had to let go of most of the staff and start all over. And right about that time, honestly, I was about to quit and started praying. And I'm like, God, if I'm supposed to stay in this business, make it clear, because this is like every door was slamming in my face. And right at that time, a hard money lender, remember Kevin Werner?
Yeah.
And Daniel Rosen,
yes.
Remember those names?
Yeah.
They actually reached out to me and said, hey, you did all of this sourcing. You helped these monster hedge funds buy all of these properties. Why don't you take that same expertise and apply it to the local mom and pop investor? So light bulb went off, and I was like, what if we could bring that same sort of institutional tools and efficiency and all that to the local mom and pop who's just trying to compete against these monsters? And that's where the vision for Clickinvest came in. And just, we built out the platform, built some algorithms, not me, like I had the vision and idea, but then obviously had to bring on software developers and whatnot to pull it off.
Sure.
And then in 2016, I partnered with Jeffrey Kirshner, who ran Invitation Homes in the Midwest. So he was responsible for the purchase, rehab, and management of over 4,200 homes.
Wow.
So yeah, we partnered up, and he helped take it to where it is today.
So talking about where it is today, how does the platform look? I mean, what does it provide exactly to the investors? I mean, like that's,
So we have over 200 clients now. We're in 2 states. And basically what happens is a client comes to us, if they're an active investor, newer investor, whatever, if they want to buy single family homes, they come to us and say, hey, I need deal flow. Because the challenge is, in today's market, obviously with tight inventory, speed is everything. Yeah. So if you just set up a search on Redfin and you don't know really how to analyze deals, you get an alert, but now you have to stop everything, sit down, analyze the deal for 45 minutes, figure out if you want to pursue it or not. Am I good on my ARV? Am I not? Then you have to schedule an inspection. Maybe that happens the next day or the day after. Then you get your offer in. So that whole process, especially for a newer investor, could take 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
With Clickinvest, we've got algorithms that filter through the entire market every single day. every 3 minutes actually. And then it spits out the best opportunities in both markets in Illinois and Florida. And then we have full-time analysts that are reviewing those deals, vetting the ARV, pegging a rehab estimate, again, from a desktop. So it's an estimate. And then from there, based on the client's profile, they'll get the deal customized to their buy side cost, sell side cost. It'll even give them the suggested offer to get their desired returns.
Wow.
If they want to see it as a flip or a rental, everything is baked in. Comps,
awesome.
It's like super dynamic. And then it takes them less than, in some cases, the pros, less than a minute to decide, do I want to pursue this? And then they click submit offer, and in 10 seconds comes into our system, generates the contract, and then our agent sends it off to the listing agent and then starts pounding the phone. So
that's insane.
Yeah, it's we always joke about if we had this at Invitation Homes. Well, the reason why Jeff and I partnered up is when I told him about the idea, he said, if we had this at Invitation Homes, we wouldn't have had any agents across the country. I'm like, well, it's kind of good that you didn't have it.
Right. Oh my gosh. That's unbelievable. So it's an app, or it's like an email, or you get both, an email and
it's an actual, so you can log in, you've got a dashboard. So you've got your own personal dashboard. Think of Redfin, right? So
okay.
I always equate it to like the investor's version of Redfin. You log into clickinvest.com, your profile's set up. The hot deals of the day are already waiting for you. You can see them in map view or list view. You open it and the analysis pops up. But you're also getting email alerts in real time. So you get an email, you click on it, and boom, submit your offer right there.
That's insane. And so are you working like strictly with cash investors, or investors that are pre-qualified? I'm sure they have to be pre-qualified.
Yeah.
Probably not FHA buyers, right? Maybe like.
Oh, no. Great question. So hard money. If they're using hard money, private money, or cash, obviously, then we're good to work with them. They also go through a vetting process. So our biz dev and marketing department, if they get somebody on the phone, they go through a 1-hour demo. We have to ensure that this person has at least a down payment, because everybody watches TV and they're like, I want to be an investor. And then you get on the phone and you're like, okay, well, how liquid are you? And they're like, well, I've got a few grand in the bank. It's like, even if you bought $100,000 property, you need 20,000 down. You need enough for your first draw construction. Like, if you don't have 30 or 40,000, it's going to be very hard, to get anything done. So
got it. And so why did you go from Chicago to, or Illinois to Florida? I mean, actually, I think I know the reason. The palm tree.
I don't know. Why? What do you think? Why? And if you look that way, there's the bay, there's the water.
Why do I ask such obvious questions, right? So stupid.
No. So from a business standpoint, Jeff, coming from the institutional side, he could see the entire market. Was that an espresso?
No, it's tea. I stopped drinking coffee.
So did I. Look, I'm drinking a matcha.
Really?
See? We're still alike, Jonathan.
Dude, there it is.
Like,
Yeah, but you've got more hair than I do. So
I don't know. It's looking good. What you did, cleaned it up.
Yeah.
Looking good. So what we did was we looked at different markets, right? Jeff personally wants to, the irony of all this was he wants to be down here, but his kids are in high school. So he's waiting for his kids to be done. So we launched in Orlando and Tampa. If you look at data, because you got to base everything off of data, right? Sure. We can be like, oh, that's a cool place to live. But if the data isn't pointing in the right direction, it's a waste of time. Sure. In Florida, Central Florida specifically, from the East Coast to the West Coast, Deltona on the East Coast to Tampa on the West Coast, it's called the corridor of opportunity. Like it's poised to just explode in the next several years. Ton of new construction, subdivisions going up. Like it's just a very hot place to live, literally hot place to live. So we opened in Orlando and Tampa at the same time because the data showed, hey, great flip market, strong rental market. So we launched in both markets, but it wasn't going anywhere. Like we staffed up, we brought on agents, and we were both traveling back and forth, and it was a nightmare. And what I learned about Florida is it's like a global market in a sense, where you've got buyers from all over the world buying in Florida.
Sure.
Right. So it's not like Illinois. You got your niche. It's very street. Everybody knows each other. It's a small clique.
Yeah.
Florida is like every new day, has more wholesalers showing up or more, investors or this or that. So it's very, very competitive, and we were getting smoked. We thought our process was dialed in, and even down here, we weren't the only game in town, right? So there are other guys using tech and this and that. Where in Illinois, it's like there was no competition. So I started. So in summer 2019, my wife and I and our kids, we came down for 5 or 6 weeks in Clearwater, and I told Jeff, I go, I'm going to go to the Tampa office every day. We're either going to figure this out or shut it down. Like and bless my wife, she's like your wife, a lot of wisdom, right? And she's like, it's not going to work unless you're there. Like, you're trying to start in a market that everybody else is running already. And we're trying to just get up and start walking, right? It's like, you're not going to win. So she was right. But within a few weeks, I had locked up like 10 deals.
Wow.
Yeah. So and I got to humble myself. It was great. It was, what was neat about it, thank God, what was neat about it was like, okay, I can, like, we can compete in a new market, but it's going to take hand-to-hand combat. You got to figure everything out. So at that point, I told Jeff, like, it's not going to work unless I'm here. And he's like, well, what does that mean? I go, well, I met with my family and I said, either I'm going to be traveling a lot or we're going to move. And we prayed about it, and they're like, let's go, we'll move.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we jumped.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, that's exact. I think, well, and here's the other thing regarding that is, like, I think there's a lot of people that want to move to Florida, but they can't at the moment. If they wanted to get their start to dabble in that market, can you be an investor? Like, can I buy in Florida? Do you have a team set up, or like
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we have a construction company. We're a licensed construction company.
Okay.
So a lot of our clients right now, especially those that buy in Florida, are passive. So they're out of state investors, California, New York, wherever. And what they do is, there's twofold. If they're a volume investor, our agents will actually click for them. So they'll say, hey, this is the profile, they get it dialed in. And if they want to do 8+ deals a year, we say, okay, we will click for you. And once we get that deal locked up, we'll get our contractor out there, walk the property, bring it back to you, and you decide if you want to move forward or not. So there's that type of investor. Or there's the passive investor that's like, I'm only going to buy a couple a year, but I want to click for myself. So they click. Once they get accepted, same process. We send our contractor out, walk it, supply them with the bid. If they move forward, we handle the whole construction process. And then we're sending them pictures along the way. And then once it's done, they can list with us. Or if they need, hold us around. Do you hear the helicopter now?
Oh, yeah. You warned me that there might be a helicopter somewhere in the during the podcast.
It's not my helicopter, I promise. So you can still hear me though, right?
I can hear you. Yeah. It sounds a little bit distant, but you're good.
Okay. If they want to go through the entire process with us, or if they want a property management company, we'll connect them to a property manager that we know down here. So they can remain fully passive through the whole thing. Interesting.
So got it. And then now as far as the subscription goes, is it like a 1-year thing? Is it like a per deal thing? How does that work?
It's an annual membership. It's $3,490 for the year, which breaks down to roughly $250, $270 a month. Where, I always love describing it, because it's like, when you think about the cost, you're getting 800 vetted deals a month. When I say vetted, that they've gone through our algorithms, it's our analysts have vetted them, and they're in your inbox or in your face, and you click and pursue the deal. You have your own Clickinvest agent that is there to support you all along the way. You have access to the Clickinvest network. So our lenders, insurance providers, everybody, like, you don't have to go looking for the pieces. We give you all the pieces. And then obviously the construction component, which is killer for those who don't want to swing a hammer or do anything.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. I mean, and that's great, because like you mentioned with Jeff, he's waiting for his kids to graduate and finally head out. I think I'm probably going to be doing the exact same thing. So it's, Okay, got it. Man, now for the overall success of an investor, I mean, what are the sort of key attributes that you see? Like what are your top investors? Like what sets apart a top investor from like someone who's just, I know it's experience, right? But like what are some of the other key attributes? Because dude, I can tell you, man, like you taught me so much. I mean, about discipline, you know, you know, waking up early, doing what you say you have to do, not counting other people's money, you know, so many valuable, you know, insights. I want you to share some of those insights to people who are listening today, not just on how to be an investor, but, you know, well, let's start with that. How you know, what are some of those key insights?
So first step is I always tell people this isn't for everybody. It's actually almost not for anybody.
Okay.
It's a very small percentage of people that actually succeed at real estate investing. And you know, the Pareto principle, 80-20. I don't think that applies in real estate. I think it's more like 95-5 maybe, where 5% succeed and the rest fail. And it all starts with what your goals are, right? Like, why do you want to get into real estate? People watch HGTV, or they go to a conference and spend $50,000 or $70,000
Yep.
and say, I'm now a real estate investor. And we go, hold on. So did you go to college? Well, yeah. How much did you spend in college? 100 grand, 150 grand, whatever. How long did you spend in college? 4 years, whatever. Okay. To make how much? 80,000 a year, right? But you did the opposite now. You think you're going to spend 70 or 80,000 in education in a weekend and walk out and make 150 to 200 a year? Like, no, you got sold snake oil. That's not reality, right? We have a lot of people that come to us with that mindset where they're like, well, I'm a real estate investor. Well, how many deals have you done? Well, 0, but I know this and I know that. It's like, you don't know anything. So I tell people, number one, what is your goal? Why do you even want to do this? Okay. If you are a professional and you work full time and you could make more money doing what you already do, figure that out. Figure out how, like, don't flip. Flipping is very, very hard to do. Okay. You know this, I know this. Like, unless you're going to be full blown and involved, it's very hard to do. Or unless you're working with a team that knows what they're doing, like, don't flip. I think buying rentals and building assets is the way to go. Okay. And I kick myself. We were talking about this before we hopped on the call. In terms of transactions, thousands of properties, flips, a lot of them, right? Rentals, I owned a few, got rid of them. But at the end of the day, I have to go back every day and pull that lever. If I'm not pulling that lever, there's no money coming.
Right.
Where on the rental side, if you own that asset, whether you're going to pull that lever once when you sell it one day, or you're pulling it every month and that money's coming in, it's an asset that's residual. It's coming into you. You're not running on a treadmill every single day. Like, if you don't show up, I get no money, right? Because so the transactional side is a job. So what I tell people is if you want to be a full-time investor, you either have to have the know-how, right, or the money. Okay. Our most successful investors are guys that have the know-how, that either do the construction themselves, right, or they have their own in-house construction or whatever. They have a control over that component, right?
Yeah.
Those guys are consistent, been working with us for years. That's their bread and butter. They're full-time investors. Or you're an investor with capital, where you say, okay, you know what? I don't care if I make 9% ROI on a flip in 6 months. I'll take it, because leveraged, you know, it ends up being a 30 or 40% return, whatever, right? And they have the capital, the liquidity, and they come to us and say, okay, you guys have the know-how, we have the money, go multiply it, right? So those are the two groups that make it work. I would add a third group. The third group is the working professional who is buying rentals. So there's somebody who works full-time. They don't have the time to flip. Nor, I mean, if they did flip, they do one a year. It's like, are you going to go through all that headache? So maybe make 20 or 30,000. And then when you really break it down, like, that's maybe, it's not a guarantee.
Right.
You could lose money. Then what? If you lost money on it or you scratched, you would have made more money working at McDonald's or Starbucks. Yeah. So, like, why? Right. So, but the investor that works full time, makes good money on a W-2, and wants to start building long-term wealth, then buy rentals. Whether you're buying them turnkey and they're done for you, or again, you plug into a team or a system that already has everything done for you, so you don't have to take that risk of babysitting.
That's amazing. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Too many people are taking these, they'll spend $30,000 on a course and, expect instant results. It's that instant gratification, that it doesn't work, especially in real estate. But I think with Clickinvest, I mean, you help accelerate that learning curve, I mean, substantially, right? Because, you're taking a lot of that risk away. I mean, there's always going to be risks no matter what, but at least you're speeding up that process.
I tell clients all the time, one of three things is going to happen. You're going to make money, you're going to stretch, or you're going to lose money. And they're like, it's not guaranteed. I'm like, no, it's real estate. Like,
Right.
I mean, if you would have, like, right when COVID hit, we're like,
Right.
oh, it's over. Like, volume went off, and we're like, okay, well, next step is wait for the collapse and then be ready to buy. Right. We're like, okay, start prepping. What do we need to do? And then we came out of it, and it just whoop. And the guys, the John Waynes that were buying through that, killed it.
Of course.
And killed it because everybody was afraid. They got in, and then 3 to 6 months later, it just went like this. And it was just nuts. And there are a lot of people that were terrified and just watching because nobody knew, but
well, yeah, and that's true. That's true. One of the things, Rosario, you're on the inside of a lot of, like the trends. What's happening. Is there anything that maybe we don't hear that probably we should be aware about? That you're hearing, with these institutions, give us some of the secret sauce, just a little bit.
Like, come on, just a little bit. So I there's like three different trains of thought. It's the overly optimistic person, right, who will make mistakes because they're way too optimistic. Yeah. Then there's I call them the panicking pessimist, who never does anything. Every time, like, the world, Chicken Little, whatever, the sky is falling. And then there's the realist. And I've been all three, right, in different phases of my life. Right now, I kind of dabble between the panicking pessimist and the realist, right? Because I don't like, when I look at the data and you look at inflation and you look where the values are compared to 07, right? It's not sustainable. And, the issue is now you have people, especially down here, who can't afford to buy these houses that at the prices they're at.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't think I know it's not sustainable. So now the question becomes, then what, right? You have forbearance expiring in many places, I think across the country. So what's going to happen to those 1.2 or 1.5 million people who are still in forbearance? I think there's been a huge, again, got to stop saying I think. There has been a huge shift just in the marketplace, in the workforce. When you look at, I went to a Starbucks yesterday. So we have a boat membership here. So
must be nice.
Yeah, and Jeff's in town. So I'm like, okay, we go hop on the boat. I go to Starbucks, and it's 4:30, and they're like closed, new hours, 7 to 3 because of staffing shortages.
Huh.
So you have so many people. Everybody's like, oh, the market's doing better. There's this huge shift. Amazon hired 200,000 people. So you have people getting out of hospitality because they got smoked, right, during COVID.
Right.
And now you've got like this whole shift and people going, rather go work at Amazon, right?
Right.
So things are happening, things are moving around. And I think, I shared this with you when I went to an IMN convention. One of the big hedge funds, I think it was their CEO or COO, stood up and said, our goal in the next 7 to 10 years is to make every American a tenant.
There it is. Wow.
So the amount of institutional capital down here right now building rental communities, okay, it's one thing to build a multi-family rental, luxury apartment building, right? Which is what I'm in. This is a luxury apartment rental, right? If we tried to buy in our area, we're here because of school districts. If we tried to buy in our area, it's $800 to $1 million for a 1,300 square foot ranch that probably needs rehab.
Unbelievable.
That's how much the prices have exploded in like downtown Tampa. So now what's happening is institutional investors, they can't find enough product, and there's so much money on the street that they're building single family rental communities.
Wow.
We're taking the amenities of like luxury apartment living, and they're bringing it to communities. And the thought is like, can I keep running with this? Because I'm gonna,
I was gonna say, do you just have a little bit more time?
Yeah,
I want to make sure.
I'm gonna land the plane right now because I used to go conferences and stuff like that. And then I heard enough, and I'm like, okay, I kind of got an idea where this is going.
Yeah.
If you look at the multifamily space, okay, it used to be mom and pops, okay, up until like the mid 90s. In the mid 90s, ease of lending occurred. Now all of a sudden these guys could lever up. Okay, there were different things that could be done. Institutional capital flooded the market. All right, and it went from 80-20, in favor of mom and pop to now it's 80-20 in favor of institutional capital. Right? That took 20 years for institutional capital to take over. Okay, and now most of those multifamilies are owned by hedge funds. I think the same thing is going to happen on the single family side. I don't think to the tune of 80-20, but even if I think they're now up to 2 or 3% of the single family housing stock in the United States is owned by institutions.
Huh.
That is a crazy
That's
number.
insane. Yeah, that's insane.
And they're not going to stop. And now that they're building communities, like they know the prices, because think about it. What's a good cap for multifamily?
Well, I mean, that's subjective, but I mean, like, I think, and it depends on the area, but I think like
that a hedge fund would be okay with, not Jonathan.
That a hedge fund would be okay with, probably like 5%.
4, 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Single family homes right now, they're settling for yields in the 4s.
Wow.
4 3/4.
That's
4.5. Like,
that's insane.
So to them, it's an asset, and it's going to sit there.
Right.
They don't care if they're borrowing at 1 and they're getting 4.
So what are the repercussions of that? Like, what is going to be the trickle effect or the unintended consequences of the institutions?
I personally think it's look, the guys that have all the capital are very, very intelligent, right? And it's a game of points, 1 point here, 1 point there, whatever, in terms of return, right? So if what people don't understand, like when Invitation and all them started, it was a huge gamble, but they knew that if they figured out how to manage these assets, right, then it became its own asset class. I mean, single family residential, rentals is its own asset class. And then you have, financial advisors saying, oh, you should invest in single family rentals, or you should have this, or you should have that. So I don't see it stopping. I see it speeding up. I think should there be any kind of like fallout, they'll come and buy more, right? Because if they're buying at yields in the 4s and the market pulls back, they're going to scoop up even more because now they're back to 5s and 6s, right? And to them, it's a long-term play. I mean, if they're collecting on it, it's their whatever, it's their money market or whatever you want to say. When you're getting, what are you getting at the bank?
Right.
0.25%.
Right. Exactly.
So I think what's going to happen is you're going to have less people owning. You're going to have more people renting. If you look at new family households being formed, the formation of new family households, that's the lowest it's been in a very long time.
Wow.
So these rental communities for people, especially, think of it this way. If you are working remotely now, okay, which a lot of people are, and you can live in a rental community that's got the pool and the amenities and this and that. Like, our biggest struggle every time, we can go buy a house, but we won't have the bay. We don't have the pool, the 2-story fitness center, you know, all the luxury,
all the bells and whistles.
Yeah. And I'm like, come on, face it. You're like, oh, but you're losing money on rent. Okay. And you're losing money on taxes, and you're losing money on, you know what I'm saying? Like, what about maintenance? I mean, I'd spend $1,000 a month between landscaping, utilities. Oh, we're going to do this now, and we're going to do that now. And I mean, you know, so if you're reinvesting that money that you're saving, you know, so, but I'm not going to make the argument for renting over owning, but I think the point is,
that would be a good argument to hear, actually, you know,
but they can keep prices at a high level that where these people just can't afford to buy. They can't keep interest rates forever at 2.5.
Yeah.
So if home ownership is on the decline, then what happens? And now you've got more and more tenants. Hey, and they've got plenty of communities to stick them in. So I think the American dream, as we know it, is like, it's just a facade, you know?
Wow.
I think. I mean, those are some pretty big words, but
no, that's exactly right. I mean, that's powerful words, actually. That's that, you know, that that you just said there. I mean, it could be the decline of, you know, of what we know America, you know, today as, you know, like you said, you know, the white picket fence and the house is no longer, you know, the American dream.
There's 15 or 16 million accredited investors in the United States. Okay. If you can get them returns that are better than the money markets, which obviously is very easy to do, and they don't want to deal with the whipsaw of the stock market, and they can get an asset, and if they put enough money down that their return on cash is 10% annually, right? They'll buy those rentals. There's a reason why. Yeah, so there's a whole roof stock. There's all these companies that are out there now that are targeting these accredited investors and saying, hey, own an asset that's already managed for you, and you just collect your 6% return or 7% return annually. And they're like, yeah. So the appetite's there. It's not going away.
Yeah. Well, interesting. Well, Rosario, you know, I want to thank you so much for, you know, finally coming onto the show. I've been trying to get you on here for a while, so I'm finally, you know, super thrilled that you came on. I know you're very busy. I want to thank you, you know, for everything that you taught me, and not what you taught me, but what you did for me, because I'm going to say it here publicly. You know, when I learned, when I originally learned real estate, I was also going through a really tough time. And it got to the point where I couldn't even afford to fix my own car. And you were kind enough to lend me, you know, and I give a lot of credit also to your wife, Tina, you know, because, you know, you lent me your car for about 6 or 7 months, maybe even the year. I think it was like 7 or 8 months. And you never, and I found out the entire time you were, you know, you guys had just one car left. And I think you were taking the bus, you know, when I was using your car. And I want to thank you for that publicly, because no one else would do that. And that's the kind of guy that Rosario is. If you're listening, you know, that's why he's so successful. You know, it's because he's the real deal. You know, you're the real deal. You say what you're going to do. You don't BS. You know, you're a man of faith. And people appreciate that, because in a world where there's tons of people that are just, you know, BSing all the time, you're one of the real ones. And I thank you. I thank you for everything. So I wanted to get that out publicly, because, you know, any opportunity that I get to just mention how great of a person you are, I say it, and thank you. So
thanks, John. I love you, man.
Appreciate love you too, man. Love you too. And anyway, so, you know, wishing you the very best. Before we go, is there any last thing you want to give out to anyone listening, any investors, any last advice?
Yeah, sorry, I have to bring faith in.
Go for it. Absolutely.
At the end of the day, right, what keeps me true north, or keeps me focusing true north, is my faith in God. Okay. And at the end of the day, you really have to question why you do what you do. I know a lot of guys who have a lot of money who have miserable lives. And don't chase this dream, because the dream of, oh, if I have everything and this and that, like, look, all the stuff behind me, yeah, we live in Florida, all right, it's great. But should all this get pulled away tomorrow, I still have my wife, I still have my kids, and I certainly have my faith in God, right? And that's what matters, because you get beat up all the time. And it's like, how are you going to work through that? So if it wasn't for my faith, I'd be nowhere. So really, really ponder why you're about to do what you do if you're getting into this for the first time, and have a soul check, you know, because if you think money is going to give you happiness, it's not. If you're not happy now, you're not going to be happy with money. Like, you're just going to find other things to complain about. So that's all I got.
Powerful stuff, man. Thank you as always. If anyone wants to get a hold of you, or find out more about the company, where can they go to check you out?
Clickinvest.com is the easiest place to go. If you want a free demo, I mean, I tell people, you don't just sign up. Like, take the demo, and if it doesn't work for you, don't sign up. We don't want people who don't understand the risk associated with it. But that's the easiest thing to do. Just clickinvest.com. There's plenty of info there.
All right, Rosario, man. Well, dude, enjoy it. Just jump into the pool here right after this podcast, dude. Again, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Say hello to the family, the wife, the kids. And thanks again.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
All right.